basement door. I was about 15 years old, and it was one of those rare weekends when my parents decided to go on a short trip, leaving me home alone for the first time. I was excited. You know, the house all to myself, no one to tell me what to do. It was supposed to be a weekend of video games, junk food, and staying up late. It was a small town, a quiet place where everyone knew each other. Our house wasn't old or creepy, just your typical suburban home, but there was always something about it that made me uneasy, especially the basement. It was one of those old, unfinished basements, cold and damp, with a single light bulb dangling from the ceiling. I never liked going down there, even during the day. It felt off. But that night, I had no reason to go down there, so I tried not to think about it. The first night was uneventful, nothing out of the ordinary. But on the second night, things changed. It was around 11 p.m. and I was playing games in the living room. I had my headphones on, completely immersed. Suddenly, I heard a sound. It was faint, like something tapping on the wood. I paused the game and took off my headphones, but the sound stopped. I shrugged it off, thinking it was just the house settling. But then it happened again, louder this time. It was coming from the basement. I tried to ignore it, but the sound kept coming, like someone tapping on the basement door. I froze. The door to the basement was just down the hall from where I was sitting, and the thought of something being down there made my skin crawl. I wanted to call my parents, but I didn't want to seem like a scared little kid. So I told myself it was just in my head, maybe the wind or something. But the tapping turned into a scratching, like someone trying to claw their way out. My heart was racing, but I forced myself to check it out. I grabbed a flashlight and slowly made my way to the basement door. The scratching stopped as soon as I got close. I stood there, listening, my hand hovering over the doorknob. My breath was shaky, and I could hear my own heartbeats in my ears. I didn't want to open it. Every instinct told me to stay away, but I had to know. I have to prove to myself that there was nothing there. So I opened the door. Nothing, just darkness. The light bulb at the top of the stairs wasn't working. So I pointed the flashlight down the steps. The beam was weak, flickering, but I could see enough. There was nothing down there, no signs of anything unusual. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding and laughed at myself for being so paranoid. I shut the door, locked it, and went back to the living room. But couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I tried to go back to my game, but I couldn't concentrate. My eyes kept drifting to the hallway, to the basement door. I wanted to go to the bed, but I was too scared to leave the living room. So I stayed up, watching TV with the volume low, trying to drown out of my fear. Around 2 a.m., I heard it again. The scratching, but this time it was louder, more frantic. My heart dropped. It was coming from the other side of the basement door. This wasn't in my head. Something was down there. I grabbed my phone and called my parents. My mom answered, half asleep, but I could hear the panic in her voice when I told her what was happening. She told me to stay put, that they were on their way back. I hung up and sat there, staring at the basement door. The scratching stopped again, but I couldn't bring myself to check it out this time. I was too terrified. My parents got home about an hour later. My dad went straight to the basement with a bat, but there was nothing there. No signs of forced entry, no animals, nothing, just a cold, empty basement. They tried to reassure me, saying it was probably just the wind or the house settling. But I knew what I heard, and I knew that whatever it was real. I never stayed home alone again after that. And to this day, I can't explain what happened that night. But every time I think about it, I can still hear that scratching, desperate and haunting, coming from the other side of the basement door. Remember, not everything that goes bump in the night is just in your imagination. Sometimes the things we fear most are closer than we think, right behind the door you wish you'd never opened.